Already, with the NBA season passing its halfway point, I did want to go over what I think are honestly the worst stadiums in the NBA within this year of 2024. Obviously, I do think that there are a lot of good stadiums in the NBA, and I think there's a lot of like middle ground stadiums that would be considered, as not good or bad, but, not as terrible to be considered as like a huge problem. These three stadiums that I'm going to go over today are stadiums that need to be replaced and probably don't belong in the NBA at this point, and they're by far the worst. And getting into it, I wanted to start with the home of the Wizards, the Capital One Arena. And right off the bat from this arena, I think the biggest concerns that I have with it is it has just a really terrible exterior on it. It looks to me more like it's either an office building or a maybe shopping center, you could say. But if you were just to look at this without any reference towards it at all, I don't think that you would think that this is an NBA stadium. They also host an NHL team too, but the fact that Capital One Arena just has this bad of an exterior is just kind of ridiculous to me. If you look at the interior though, it's a very basic, bland design in there, nothing crazy. You have the lower section there that's kind of extended, and then you have the one upper deck. Not many suites from what I'm seeing. And, I don't know where you really go with this arena at this point, because obviously I think there are possible plans that maybe they would put a new arena somewhere in Virginia. I've heard of that possibility before, but obviously an aging arena and just an arena that just has no character to it and is just not a very eventful spot at all within the terms of the NBA. And that's why I think it's a bottom three arena within the NBA, in my opinion here. Then if we go to another arena that I just think is really not up to NBA standards right now, and I would say this is the Delta Center, the home of the Utah Jazz, and it just looks pretty awful from the outside. And the exterior, I will give you a warning here, it is not the main reason why I have this stadium so low, but it is just not a good looking exterior at all. It's not it's not one of the worst looking exteriors I've ever seen, but I mean, if you're look at some other of the angles of this place, it looks kind of airporty, I would say. It definitely doesn't look like an NBA arena to me. It doesn't look like something that would draw my attention. It's just a really bad exterior, guys. There's not really much more I can say, but that's not even the reason why I think this is a bottom stadium. If you look at the interior of this stadium, it is just so bland. You really just got nothing really going for it in there. Terrible design for interior. Obviously, no new uniqueness at all. The only unique factor that they used to have is the seats used to be all green. As you can see in some of these shots, they have completely gotten rid of that. Now the seats are all black, so that's even not unique. And it's just not the stadium that you would consider to be an NBA stadium at this point. And it's been there for over 50 years. It's a very old stadium, opened a long while back. They did put in a new Jumbotron, which is like the most like easiest thing that you can do. But aside from that, there's really not a lot of redeeming factors to this stadium, and that's why it's one of the bottom stadiums in the NBA. It's just what it is. And then if we go to what I think is just by far the worst stadium in the NBA, and I don't think it's very close, it is the Smoothie King Center, home of the New Orleans Pelicans. And wow, this arena is just junk, guys. This is a very bad arena, very junk arena. Just take a second. Look at the exterior on that. Does that not look like 1992 to you? That looks like a 1990, like 1990s get up there with what they got going on in the background. It is just, and then you go to the interior as well, and it's just, they have this new Jumbotron, I get it, but obviously no uniqueness at all. Very small stadium. And yeah, guys, it just if you're looking at this, you can tell there's nothing unique to it. Looks straight out of the 1990s, and the interior just is so underwhelming. Not a lot of press boxes and all that. Not a lot of luxury within the stadium. This is probably the stadium that will be the next one to be like the other two, Capital One Arena and the Delta Center. They need to be gone, but this is the stadium where it's going to be pushed, and it already is being pushed, but it's going to be pushed more so than the other ones in a lot of ways to, have changes made to it and get. I don't even think you can save this with doing just like minor fix-ups and renovations. I don't think you can. I think you need a completely new stadium at this point. And they have the room to do it, and I think they will deliver on this. But yeah, as of right now, I think the Smoothie King Center it's got to be the worst stadium in the NBA, in my opinion. I don't know though. Go into the comments. Let me know what you think out of these three. But I would be shocked if a lot of people didn't agree that the Smoothie King Center is probably the worst, just after looking at these pictures. But I don't know. I'll voice my opinion. You guys can voice yours in the comments. But I think these are probably the bottom three arenas within the NBA.